Should I say Prof or Doc?
Anyone is fine. By university standards, it's Prof.
Prof.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much
I'm
for
an
your time.
associate professor of physiotherapy at University of Ghana. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
This journey, how did it get to this point, Doc?
Oh, what a way to start. It's been a very long journey, actually. And, well, like you probably also said a while ago, there were destiny helpers somewhere along the line. I started way back in 1992 when I entered medical laboratory technology. I completed in 1994 and worked in Department of Microbiology in Collywood Hospital for a couple of years. And I got opportunity to go to school, to go and study physiotherapy in the Netherlands. So that's how come I entered physiotherapy. But hitherto, I didn't know much about physiotherapy then, but I think the interest more was probably to go back to school, get an opportunity and to go to school outside the country. So whilst I was searching, this opportunity dropped. I took advantage of it, and like we would normally say, the rest is history.
The rest is history. At what point did you begin to fall in love with physiotherapy?
I fell in love with physiotherapy when I started training as a physiotherapist. Because like I said, the truth of the matter is, because I really wanted to go to school, I'd done med lab, and I was looking for an opportunity to go back to school out there. They didn't really show up the way they were supposed to, until this one, which was probably very divine, dropped, and I took advantage of it. So when I started training as a physiotherapist, I found that it was a very exciting profession, really. And I have done almost everything physiotherapy, I mean, up until now anyway. So let me say I started liking or loving physiotherapy when I started training as a physiotherapist, but not before. I didn't know much about physiotherapy at the time, to be honest.
As I mentioned, many of us knew nothing.
I didn't know much about physiotherapy at the time that I wanted to go into physiotherapy. I really wanted to travel to go to school, and that was the strongest motivation.
And going to the school, what was the focus?
Well, the focus at the time, again, was physiotherapy. But if an opportunity in medical laboratory technology had, showed up, I'm sure I would have followed that line. But the opportunity to travel to go to school came in physiotherapy. So that's how come I actually went into physiotherapy.
And why sports physiotherapy?
Well, that's actually a very interesting question. And I was telling my students one day, I love sports. And I did a lot of sports when I was in school. Unfortunately, I was not the best sportsman. I've done high jump. I did 100 meters. I did 200 meters. I thought I was a fast runner, but there were people who were running, who were shorter and smaller than me, who were running faster than me, you know. People were jumping higher than I was. But one thing they couldn't take away from me was soccer. So in soccer, that I excelled. At least I played football throughout my school life whilst I was in Ghana. So I think that because I probably was not a very best sportsman and I didn't get the opportunity to break through into sports, when I finished my undergraduate training in physiotherapy, I found sports an avenue where I think I would really love and thrive. And to the glory of God, I've done a lot in the area of sports physiotherapy in Ghana and even beyond. So I'm actually very happy that I chose it, because there are other branches within physiotherapy that are available for selection.
Yeah.
However, I chose sports, and probably because I didn't do too well in sports back then,
you were hungry to succeed in this area.
So at least I've compensated by doing well in the area of sports physiotherapy.
And okay, so let me ask this question this way. I wanted to take us back to your early days, but the conversation has had a certain trajectory. Normally on Prime Tape, we don't take that trajectory, but I'm just going to stick there. One thing I want to understand, what exactly do physiotherapists, what do they do?
Okay, so physiotherapy is an exciting healthcare profession that has to do with essentially movement and generally lifestyle.
Yeah.
Okay, so when people have medical conditions, they have injuries, or they have challenges which are more physical.
Yeah.
I mean, the physiotherapist is one who comes in to make sure that they can get themselves moving appropriately. So physiotherapy has got to do with a lot of movement. So we treat patients or clients from age 0 to the oldest person. And as you may be aware, you know a lot about sports. So when athletes get injured, you know that, okay, they have to go through some rehabilitation to get back. Yeah. But when people suffer conditions such as stroke, or people get injuries such as traumatic road traffic accidents, and their muscles and bones are affected, or the nervous system is affected, movement is limited in one way or the other. And this movement will gradually come back based on the knowledge and training that physiotherapists have to get people to move. Of course, it depends on the extent of damage as well. Sometimes we are not able to get the person to move as we would wish. However, it is important to make sure that such patients are not left lying down, and they can develop all sorts of problems, including pressure sores, breathing difficulties. So there are things we will do for some of these clients to make sure that they are in good shape, even though they are probably unable to move.
There are sometimes we often have many misconceptions about what physiotherapy is all about, right? Maybe there might be someone out there who believes that, oh, if I get injured, I'll just go and see the local herbsman to just stretch my legs and I'll be fine again.
Well, I think you have actually described it very correctly. It's probably a good description as misconception. The body has its ways as far as movement is concerned. So when injuries occur, by virtue of the training of physiotherapy, there's a lot of anatomy, which is muscle and bone, blood vessels, nerves.
Now we are speaking science.
Yes. That are taught to the students who become physiotherapists eventually.
Yeah.
So they have a very good understanding of what may have happened as a result of that particular injury. And let's not also forget that it's possible that the client or patient we are talking about would have gone through a physician who probably would have also had his own assessment and would have done some other tests which could be helpful in the treatment that the physiotherapist is eventually going to offer the patient. So if you go and see the herbalist, or you go and see, okay, whatever they call them, whether they're traditionalists or their background as far as, well, the body is concerned, I'm sorry to say, is not at the level at which somebody who was trained as a physician or was trained as a physiotherapist is concerned. They wouldn't understand what exactly the problem is. Of course, some of the things they have done in the past seems to work, but then those who believe in those things eventually come to us sometimes, and we give them finality to whatever their conditions may be. It's also possible that what may have developed would not yield the needed results that is expected. It's a human body.
Yeah.
Certain things may have gone wrong, or certain structures may have been damaged, and it may not allow full recovery as the case may be. So, there are intricacies. So probably we'll have to look at it that way. So misconception, I think I do agree with you, but I think that if I look at where we are now, and with this opportunity you're also giving me, which I think a lot of physiotherapists will be excited about, I think that there's a lot of, probably let me say, health education we need to do with regards to the profession physiotherapy, and a lot of advocacy, because there are people who actually, when it comes to sports, end some sportsmen's career because of the kind of treatment they offer these sportsmen.
This conversation is centered on sports, so definitely we'll switch to the sports angle.
Sure.
But you mentioned something quite critical, which has to do with, when I say you were talking about science, the anatomy of the person, right? So if I begin to feel like some physical pain, what is that first thing that I have to do?
Well, I think
maybe I'm in the house, I slept in my bathroom. Do I need to see some specialist, or we play street football all the time? I go out there, I go get injured. What are some of the first things that I need to do?
Well, first of all, usually it depends on the severity of what you are talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, there are issues that may arise.
But first aid, just the first aid.
Yes, so the body has a way of always responding to some of these things.
Yeah.
Of course, that's what we call inflammation. When the injury occurs, of course, there's inflammation, a little bit of swelling here, there's heat. Those are the things we give 2 to 3 days to see whether it will resolve by itself or it begins to resolve. By the 3rd day, if it's not resolving, of course, then you need to pay attention to that. No, you need to give it better attention. Those first 3 days, maybe you want to take the normal paracetamol, or you want to apply ice, which helps the swelling to come down, pain to go down. It's normal. So like I said, depending on the severity. Otherwise, by the 2nd or 3rd day, I mean, if you're not getting good results, I mean, your antenna should go up and say, no, you need to seek proper attention as far as this injury is concerned. So you can walk in to see a physician, you can walk in to see a physiotherapist. Physiotherapists, fortunately, are actually first contact practitioners. So if you bring the condition, we can look at it. If it is not the type that we have to look at, we'll quickly let you know that no, you have to see a physician for other additional information, additional tests, or additional investigations that may warrant you to come back to us or go in a different tangent as far as the treatment is concerned. So the first 2 to 3 days are actually very critical. Beyond that, your antenna should go up.
Are there some myths about physiotherapy? And can you clarify them? Do we have some myths in there?
Oh. I don't think there's a myth around physiotherapy like that, because it's actually a healthcare profession.
Okay.
But what I would rather want to think is that it is the patients or the populace who probably have a certain perception which probably can be a myth in their eyes.
Then it takes that back to the misconception.
As far as physiotherapy is concerned, yes. Because, well, before now, you hear people saying that, oh, especially people who have suffered cardiovascular accidents, which you call stroke, so, oh, he's going for massage. Oh, he's going for massage. But when a stroke patient comes to physiotherapy, we are not massaging, I mean, the patient. There's a lot of neurological things that have gone wrong that physios have actually learned that they will use to offer treatment to get the patients to be able to achieve a certain level of independence, depending on the extent of injury that may have occurred as a result of the stroke. So stroke, people say, oh, he's going for massage. Oh, she's going for massage. But a stroke patient goes for physiotherapy, it's not about massage.
What do you do?
There's a lot we do. I mean, you have to understand how the body's mechanism works when the neurological pathway is affected. Is a neurological pathway that is affected when you get a cardiovascular accident, which is called a stroke. So understanding that aspect of it will influence what you want to do to the weak part of the body, either left or right, upper and lower, depending on what may have the extent of injury, that would actually go into the treatment. Okay, so that is for us. That's what we do in the clinic. But it's based on the knowledge that we have as far as the science is concerned. And when it's stroke, it's more of a neurological problem. So the treatment is more of a neuro type of rehabilitation.
Doc, we are not talking medical stuff here, but I need to ask this question because my viewers out there will be quite disappointed if I do not ask this question. So when you begin to sense this in an individual, maybe a stroke, is there first aid that you can do before you get the person to a physiotherapist?
Well, I think there are signs, and these are some of the things we see a lot on social media. They will tell you that, oh, I mean, if you feel this, or you perceive certain things. I mean, they are quite categorical, and people who have actually specialized in the area of neuro will tell you. But of course, naturally, it happens most of the time to people who have issues with blood pressure. Okay, so you should be aware. I mean, you should be very conscious of how often you are checking your blood pressure. If the blood pressures are high, quickly you must inform your physician that your blood pressures have actually gone abnormally high. Otherwise, if you are not looking, that is when it will arise. So there are different stories. You pass out, you feel weak in one area, you know, but you will get signs. Okay, but if you are very smart about it, you have to call for the needed attention. But then the most important thing is if you have high blood pressure issues, you must be very careful and regular in checking the blood pressures from time to time. And it also impinges on the kind of things that you can do and you cannot do. I mean, so that it doesn't affect your blood pressure.
Earlier, I asked a question about pain. Going out there to play football, I get injured. Yeah, I said going out there to play football, I get injured, and what should I do? Physiotherapists, how do you manage chronic pain?
Okay, so
because it is going to usher me into something.
Chronic pain is pain we describe as pain that has lasted for a little over 12 weeks.
Okay.
Pain within the first 3, 4, 6 weeks could arise because of an injury or a musculoskeletal problem that one has. But if it persists for 12 weeks or more, then you would want to describe it
as a chronic one.
As chronic. Okay. So when pain arises and it is in the acute phase, maybe I just have to use this opportunity to also tell your viewers that when it's in the acute phase, the first option is not heat. Because in the acute phase, you have heat, you have swelling, you have redness. So naturally, you have to cool the place. That's why in sports we use a lot of ice.
Oh, okay.
So acute pain is usually handled with mostly cooling agents. And that's why you see the spray that people describe as magic spray. It's also a cooling agent.
Oh, okay.
It's much faster than the ice, depending on what the situation is on the field.
Okay.
But if the pain has persisted, and like I said, beyond 12 weeks, then of course, it has become chronic, and whatever it is must be properly investigated so that it can be given the needed attention. But of course, the body's reaction to certain things can also get into the situation where the pain becomes chronic. So with chronic pain, you are most likely to want to treat it with heat. So this is the big difference. So when the pain becomes chronic, you are most likely to want to treat it with heat. When you treat it with cold, you won't get the same results you get when it is acute. So a lot of chronic pain can be treated with heat. But let me be quick to say that physiotherapy has to do a lot with our hands. So there are quite a number of manipulations and mobilizations that can be done when people have actually got into the situation where their pain has become chronic. But of course, like I said, it has to be investigated. You need to understand why the pain is chronic. Then it will inform the kind of treatment that you have to offer, which a lot would depend on our hands. And then you apply some heat as well. The heat usually would soothe the soft tissues, which is the muscle, the skin, and it will enhance, blood circulation. Sometimes with chronic pain, some form of blood circulation also helps, because once the blood moves away from where the pain is, it brings new blood to the area, and then it soothes the place, and the pain also would naturally go down, aside what you would have done with your hands if you understand what the pain actually is emanating from.
Doc, if I'm coming for a physiotherapy session, or anyone at all, let me say my crew, or anyone out there wants to come for a physiotherapy session, what are some of those first things that the person should expect?
Well, when you come for a physiotherapy session, it's just like you've been to any clinic. You are taken in, the history of the condition you are presenting is taken, and then an objective assessment would be conducted, which means that you would look, will feel, and will move that particular part of the body where you are complaining about whatever it is, for us to have an understanding of what your condition is. So when the history is taken, we do a subjective and objective assessment. Then we come up with a physical diagnosis. We actually diagnose what the problem is. And it's a physical diagnosis. It's not a medical diagnosis. So the physical diagnosis is actually going to help you to plan your treatment. And when you're able to plan your treatment, then you can now intervene. And when you intervene, you actually keep evaluating, and then you modify as and when necessary, so that you can get the outcomes that are expected as far as the treatment is concerned.
Is it beneficial for someone without an injury, physiotherapy?
Yes, like I said, I mean, we treat people from age 0 to the oldest. So I'm sure you may have come across children who have weakness in their arms as a result of birth. Sometimes they develop something called, I think, spina bifida. So some children have difficulty walking when they start growing. Some children have very serious bow legs, which you call genovarus.
So the bow legs we see like this?
Yes. So there's a lot that is done for such children at the children's unit. The physicians have a lot of input, and the physiotherapists also have a lot of input. So yeah, we treat, like I said, from age 0 to the oldest person. The old people may fall, they break their bones, they have to walk again. Mid-age people may suffer some medical conditions, they become weak, they have to be strong, they have to walk again. Sportsmen suffer injuries, they have to come back to sports. So it's actually a wide range that is usually covered. So that's why I said from age 0 to the oldest person. People become frail as a result of the aging process. You want to keep them active, they will come see their physiotherapist. So we're actually supposed to be very busy people, as it were. But because of the level of understanding of the profession in country, I think sometimes we have time. But
is this something that generally in Ghana, many people actually patronize?
Yes. If you go to a lot of the government hospitals, the physiotherapists are actually very, very busy. They are very busy.
But sometimes I might just walk in and I need a physiotherapist. Me, I just walk in because I'm not feeling too well. My body is paining me. I'm not too okay. Then, you need some bit of physiotherapy.
Sure,
right? But
sure.
If you do not have knowledge about it to know that, okay, as I'm going to the hospital, I need to go and see a physiotherapist. You just walk in blindly.
Well, I mean, I think the nice thing about physiotherapy too is that, I mean, it's because it's part of, I mean, the orthodox healthcare delivery system. Yeah. I mean, the physicians also understand, I mean, what physiotherapists can do for clients. So we get a lot of referrals from physicians as well. Okay. So if, like I said earlier, your antenna is quite high and you're not too sure what it is, and you even walk in to see the physician, and I mean, he sees you, he knows that, oh, this one is a physiotherapy problem, he just asks you to go and see the physiotherapist. Okay. So if you are not very well informed about physiotherapy and you don't walk to the physiotherapist, once you go to the physician, he will refer you to come and see the physiotherapist. Yes. Okay. Yes, that's one of the misconceptions. I mean, that physiotherapists,
you massage us,
only would carry out a massage for you when you come to see them. But it's far from the truth, and massage is actually a very small part of the treatment that we offer. When it's necessary to massage certain parts of the body, we would massage, but the key or the thrust of the treatment is not on massage. It doesn't dwell on massage. There's a lot more we do. And like I said, a lot of what we do is with our hands. And let me also just be quick to say that we offer a lot of therapeutic exercises. So therapeutic exercises to build strength, therapeutic exercises to build endurance. So if it's a muscular problem, yes, strength and endurance. Cardiorespiratory comes in, that's the heart and the lungs. When people who are taken in at the cardio center, for instance, who have breathing challenges, who have heart-related problems, they will also benefit from physiotherapy. So in the hospital setting, for instance, physiotherapists visit almost every ward within the hospital. The physicians will call. They will call from obs and gynae. They will call from pediatrics. They will call from chest clinic. They will come from the fevers unit. They will call from the orthopedic unit. We are everywhere within the hospital setting. So, of course, I mean, if you've gone to the hospital setting and you need physiotherapy, you could be referred to go and see a private practitioner. But once you are in the hospital setting, almost every aspect of every branch within the hospital can benefit from physiotherapy. And the physicians know, and therefore they call for the physiotherapist. So in Kolibu, for instance, where I practice and I've practiced a lot, I mean, almost every ward has a physiotherapist assigned to that particular ward, including burns. We go to the burns unit as well. Yes. So physiotherapy is actually once it has got to do with movement, I mean, you'll find a physiotherapist there.
Wow. Doc, no, now, Prof.
No worries.
We've mentioned the docs.
I know.
But now let me bring you back home, right?
Yes. To my specialty.
But I'm going to talk about your specialty in a bit. We've seen you rise to become a professor. But how did it all begin? What was your upbringing like?
Upbringing. Well, I mean, normal upbringing that any child will go through. Your parents will insist that you have to go to school. So, I mean, I had to go through the schooling system. I became very interested in science. So, I mean, you know, when you go to the secondary school, I'm from the old school anyway. I did O and A level. So, I mean, getting into Form 4, I branched into science. So I did science and all the way to the advanced level, ordinary level, advanced level. And then I found myself reading medical laboratory technology in Kolibu. Like I said, an opportunity to bring people into physiotherapy actually became more or less urgent because there were few physiotherapists within country at the time. So 18 of us were selected from in country again, and almost all of us were already practicing health professionals to go and follow a training for a very intense period to come back and beef up the shortage of human resource as far as physiotherapy was concerned, and the commencement of training at University of Ghana for physiotherapy. So briefly, that's my upbringing, and I want to give a lot of kudos to my parents who made sure that I had to go to school. And although I struggled a little bit somewhere along the line, because of course there were challenges here and there, especially with regards to the finances, but I didn't relent, and gradually, having broken through into the physiotherapy profession, today I find myself here as an associate professor.
Your family, your parents were well-to-do?
No, please. No, please. I said that already.
How they able to produce a professor?
That is what everybody will refer to as humble beginnings. So not the very best financial background to push as quickly as was needed. But I mean, they made sure that I stayed in line with education.
They could afford the basics.
They could afford the basics. So I did my best until the advanced level. But advanced level was quite challenging, and that's how come I veered into the area of health, medical laboratory technology.
It was quite challenging, right?
Right,
How many siblings do you have? only child, so your parents pumped all the resources.
No. I'm not the only child. So, well, let me just spill the beans. Polygamous family. My father had 4 wives.
Oh wow!
So
hey, I need to come and see your father. He has to inspire me. My ambition is to marry 4.
My father had 4 wives. My mother was the last, so I was the 10th of 11 children. So, if I'm allowed to say, I'm an Abedipele or an Dedeayu, because I wear number 10. But we're actually a team of 11. So
4 wives,
4 wives,
children.
4 wives and 11 children.
11 children.
Yes, 11 children.
Your father know they produce.
You know they produce, eh?
My father had 3 and gave birth to over 20 of us.
Eish. Yeah. So like I said, so humble beginnings. I struggled a little bit with my advanced level, and that's how come I veered into the area of laboratory technology. But I still stay focused. And then when the opportunity to go back to school and do physiotherapy came in, I actually put my leg on the accelerator and I made sure I went through